Hey guys, welcome. So this radio show, I'm going over advanced and intermediate tips for nutrition, so stay tuned.
Doctors Nathan and Rebecca Warren of Chattanooga Family Chiropractic are ready to help you transform your life. If you have a question, call 267-1023 to speak with the doctors. That's 267-1023.
All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I'm your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. And so tonight we're going over advanced, intermediate, and beginner tips for the best diet for you. Okay, so everybody's unique, but we got to start somewhere. All right, and so again, if you're just now tuning in to our show, welcome. My name is Dr. Nathan Warren. I am a local health expert here in Chattanooga area. We also coach people across the United States. So again, guys, I am here for one reason, is to help take your health to the next level. And so we do that in our health center, but we also do that on our radio show here. You can also follow us live on Facebook at Drs. Warren. That's DRSWARREN. So tonight I want to go over a few things. I want to go over beginner, intermediate, and advanced diet, variations that you guys can use, different practices that you can use no matter where you're at. So for some of you guys, you're just beginning. It's your first time getting started with changing your diet, changing your health. For some of you, you've been doing it for years. So again, you need to take it to the next level. So I'm going to go over both of those tonight. I'm going to go over different options for that. But all that being said, right, there's a few things that we can all do. So I'd like to kind of go over some of the basics that apply to everybody, all right, kind of across the board. So the way I like to look at it is this. Like, I like to look at what is it that the people that are around the world, what they're doing, the people that live the longest, the areas of the world where people are living the longest, okay? So where are those areas? They're called blue zone hotspots. So again, if you guys have never heard of the blue zone spots, guys, there's actually a book, right, about the blue zones that you can read about, and you can actually learn about some of the practices that these people do. Some of these people who live, that have the most centurions out of any other population, those are called the blue zones, and they're important to actually learn about. So let's kind of go over, no matter what nutritional strategy that you choose to follow, let's go over some of the basics that apply to the people who are living in blue zones. So number one is they incorporate regular intermittent fast or longer fasting periods. So this is something that if you have been listening to our show, even if you've only listened for a couple weeks, we talk about some sort of fasting that everybody on this planet, they need to be doing some type of fasting, whether it's somebody who's a type 2 diabetic, where block fasting actually works amazing. Maybe it's starting off with intermittent fasting. So those of you here is a great one. Whether you're beginner or advanced, you should be incorporating some type of fasting within your lifestyle. Intermittent fasting, again, we're looking at anywhere from 14 to 20 hours where you're fasting between your last meal of the day, first meal of the next day. And again, you're not consuming anything else that's going to kick you out of that fasting mode. So some of you can consume some coffee, some of you can consume some tea, not sweetening it with sugar or anything like that, or you just consume water. So you're basically just shortening your feeding window. You're not eating less, you're just eating less often. Or you may, if you're more advanced, you may start incorporating longer fasting periods. So I have some of my patients, again, I like to tell them to do a 24-hour water fast once a week. So what does that look like? From dinner to dinner. So let's say you stop eating dinner on Tuesday night. Once you're done with that, you're not eating again till Wednesday night. No, you will not die. You will be just fine. Again, guys, we live in a society where we think we got to eat 24/7. Come on. Like, that is not true. Again, if you're looking at the blue zones, every single blue zone, they incorporate some type of fasting in that. One of the most common questions I get, well, Dr. Nathan, I'm a type 2 diabetic. I can't fast. I have to take my metformin. I have to take my insulin. What I always say is, number one, talk with your doctor. But again, it's kind of simple to think about. if you literally have diabetes because you've eaten way too much glucose over the past several years, most of you then become insulin, you become basically insulin resistant rather than being insulin sensitive, and overall you end up really burning out the beta receptors on the pancreas, and so then you basically go from a type 1 diabetic to very similar to a type 2, or from a type 2 diabetic very similar to a type 1 diabetic. And so bottom line, if you stop putting glucose in the body, guess what happens? Your body doesn't need to secrete a lot of insulin. It runs through its glycogen storages. And guess what? Your body then knows how to burn fat for fuel. It's called burning ketone body. So that being said, yes, if you're a type 2 diabetic, you absolutely can fast. And again, there's doctors out there that are proving that every single day. So whether you're beginner, whether you're advanced, incorporate some type of fasting. That's how they do it in the blue zones. What else? Make sure that you are getting rid of the high inflammatory foods, and that you're controlling glycemic variability. All right, this kind of goes back to what I just talked about. You want to make sure that you're getting as little variation in your blood glucose insulin spike. So what do I mean by that? That means if you are eating, like what is it? The American Diabetic Association says eat 5 or 6 small meals, or eat little meals throughout the day. Guys, that's a great way to stay diabetic. For sure, because again, you're constantly spiking your blood glucose and you're spiking your insulin. When you actually, there's studies that show when you average out how many times does the average American eat on a daily basis. Most people will be like, oh, I think I eat 3 or 4 times. Some of the more leaning towards the American Diabetic Association, oh, I eat 5 or 6 small meals. Guys, if we were actually follow you around and see how often are you putting something into your body that's creating a glucose and insulin response, which is eating, right? How often are you doing that? Again, on average, you're looking anywhere from 13 to 21 times a day. And so that means your blood glucose is going up and down, up and down, up and down. And if you want to do one of the fastest things to kill you, right, it's continue to keep your glycemic variability like that. Continue to basically spike your blood glucose and your insulin constantly. That is one of the quickest ways to build chronic disease and lead to an early death. So what does that mean? That means paying attention, right, to how much sugar you're bringing into your body, paying attention to how many times you are eating throughout the day. So that is why I like for people to, again, especially if you're doing intermittent fasting for a period of time, you're giving the body time to rest, which means you're not spiking your blood glucose and your insulin levels. So how else can you do that? That means when you're eating in that window, right? Let's say you eat 1 meal, or maybe you eat 2 meals, or maybe you eat 3 meals. But again, I would really try to space those out. So if you're going to do 3 meals, right, at each meal, eat till you're full. Don't snack in between, right? We want to go back to the way, the way I like to say, the way my parents grew up, or the way my grandparents grew up, which was, if you wanted a snack after dinner, your mom would get on to you because she would say, that means you didn't eat enough at dinner. If you wanted, a snack before dinner, they would say, no, it's going to ruin your dinner. That's what we need to get back to, and so that we can actually stabilize and get control of our glycemic variability. The next one is occasionally refeed the body with adequate amount of calories. So that means, when you look at some of these cultures that are out there that are living so long, one of the things that they do is they celebrate, right? Whether it's celebrating, weddings, whether it's having, celebrations of just life or just having fun in general, they have celebration periods. During those celebration periods, they eat more than normal. But again, remember, these populations also, they incorporate fasting into their lifestyle as well. So it's feast and famine, right? And what's amazing about this is we know this optimizes hormones, because this is the way our ancestors lived, where they had times of feasting, times of famine. But that's another big practice of the blue zones that I think are absolutely fantastic. Occasionally engage in periods of more intense detoxification. So these blue zones actually have some sort of detoxification that they do. So if you're looking at some of the, some of the more like northern, like when you're going into like northern part of Europe, you're looking at some of those countries. Guys, looking at things like sauna, right? Sauna is just a part of life there. When you're looking at some of the Nordic countries, again, they use a lot of things like medicinal mushrooms. No, I'm not talking about psychedelic mushrooms. I'm talking about like medicinal ones that again are fantastic for the health of the body. All the cultures around the world where there's blue zones, they have some type of period in their life where they're actually doing more intense detoxification to actually heal the body as well. And so a couple others, making sure that you're not consuming a lot of processed food. That should be a given. Guys, when you're looking at these blue zones, they don't consume processed food. They consume real food. So whether that's, again, growing their own fruits and vegetables, right? That's a big deal. Actually getting their hands dirty in the ground and growing their own food is huge. Or maybe it's killing their own animals, right? They actually raise their own animals. They raise them well, or they go hunt, right? This is the way that people have lived, for thousands of years. This is the way that we're meant to live. Avoid the processed food. Whenever possible, eat clean. Eat more towards organic and wild, non-GMO. This is important. Again, this is the way that most of the blue zones do it. And whenever possible, eat locally, right? And then include a multicolored amount of plants, vegetables, herbs, and spices. So that's important as well. When you look at some of these cultures, they add in tons of spices and herbs and all of this color to their food rather than just a bland plate, right? Like I look at like Thanksgiving is one of my favorite times of the year because I get to spend a lot of time with family. And luckily, like when I look at my family, I know we have some of my family actually on Facebook Live right now. We actually, do a pretty good job of incorporating some really good healthy food. But when you look at just the American public and you look at Thanksgiving, if you actually look at their plate, a lot of times the only colorful thing on there is like cranberry sauce, right? The rest of it is like bland looking. It looks all the same. Guys, when we're looking at how to actually get a healthy diet, we want to incorporate lots and lots of different color, lots of herbs, lots of wild herbs, lots of things like spices, and again, get those into the body because a lot of those spices are some of the highest in antioxidants. They're some of the highest in nutrient value as well, and you're not adding any calories to what you're actually eating. So those are some of the basic tips, whether you're a beginner, whether you're advanced, that can really make sure that you're taking your diet to the next level. And so that you're really kind of mimicking those areas, those hot spots, those blue zones for longevity by really paying attention to those. All right. And so again, if you missed some of that, or if you just now joined us and you want to hear more of that, again, I do this always on Facebook Live. So you can actually go to our Facebook. It's at Doctors Warren. That's DRSWARREN. Like our page, you can follow that. And again, you can go back and watch most of our radio shows. Again, we try to Facebook Live all of them so that you can go back, you can listen to them, you can share them, you can ask any questions that you want to ask so that we can answer those for you. And again, I just got a text from Mary Beth, so we are already down to 3 appointment times left. So if you want our help, again, make sure you give the girls a call. That number is 423-362-5360, and they can get you set up with that if you want our help. Again, that's 423-362-5360. We can start transforming your life today. Again, by partnering with you. I can't do the work for you, but I can help give you a plan and help coach you to success as long as you put in the hard work. All right. So again, that number is 423-362-5360. When we get back from the break, we're going to first dive into some of the basics. So if you're a beginner, what are some of the things you can do to actually reboot the body and get yourself going? And then we'll dive into more of the advanced tips for those of you guys who've been working on your diet and nutrition for years. So this is Wellness Radio, and I'm your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. I'll be right back after the break. Hey guys, good to see you guys. Hey Martin, hey Tina, Amber, good to see you guys with Aunt Kathy and Eliza. Oh my goodness, Eliza, that's one healthy kid. She's such a cutie. Hey Sharon, good to see you on here as well. So we're going over, a topic that I think is massively important because everybody is in a different spot. So we have some people who are more advanced, right, and they've been eating well for years. So I'm going to go over some super tips for you. Or maybe you're just beginning. Maybe you're just starting your health journey. Wherever you're at, I just want to make sure that we're able to get you started and get you going. So I do want to touch on one thing really quick. So if you're listening to this, maybe you have an autoimmune disease, maybe you have, you know, a family member or maybe, you know, a loved one or somebody that you know that has an autoimmune condition. I actually think that one of the most important things that you can do, especially if you have a person who, again, is kind of just getting started in this realm, who says, you know what, I want to get my body well. I'm not getting any answers from medication. I'm not getting any answers from, you know, from the doctors that I'm seeing. I think one of the best places to actually kind of dive into. Now, I will let you know this isn't always easy to do, but I think it's massively important. Again, if you have autoimmune condition, I'm a big fan of what's called the autoimmune paleo diet. All right. So the AIP, the autoimmune paleo diet, yes, again, like I said, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, because it does cut out a lot of stuff. But it's basically eating good quality pasture-raised meat. It's eating, you know, things like wild-caught fish, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, and that's kind of what you're looking at. It's a nutrient-rich diet, but we're cutting out a lot of the most common allergies that are out there. And so autoimmune paleo, I've actually seen, again, firsthand, I've seen a lot of people that have really taken their autoimmune condition into their own hands by doing the AIP diet. So I think that, again, if you are suffering with autoimmune disease, I think this is a great place to start. Now, does that mean that you have to stay on that forever? No, not necessarily, right? So that being said, you can at least start here. And what I usually tell, you know, any of my patients or clients that want to do something like the AIP, the autoimmune paleo diet, is that you do it for a series of months. So I like to do it for at least 6 months, if not longer. And the reason for that is you want to give your body time to actually adapt and to actually heal. The reason I love doing something like the autoimmune paleo diet is it does allow for the gut to heal, right? It does help with, you know, clearing out leaky gut because it prevents the foods that could possibly be damaging the gut, all right? So I just wanted to throw that out there. I think that's an important one to kind of start with. Angela says, good to see you again. Emily is watching with us too. Hey, Emily. Oh my goodness, it was so great to meet you guys the other day. What an absolute blast to be able to meet you and your daughter. Just absolutely great people. I can't wait to start working with you guys. It's going to be amazing. But again, when I'm diving into these things with all of you that are listening, you know, pick and choose where you're at. Right? And if, again, you're a patient that's listening to this, you should kind of know where we want you to be. If you don't, make sure you ask us in the office. We want to just guide you where you're at. You are unique, right? You're not like anybody else. So that being said, again, we like to treat each person like they are unique. So, again, as I'm giving you guys some of this bonus stuff, I want to kind of dive back in. So autoimmune paleo diet, one of the things that I like about this is that for a while it does cut out the biggies, right? So that's things like soy, gluten, dairy, and eggs. And some of you are like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to live without some of this. Well, if you suffer with an autoimmune condition, again, trust me, the pain in cutting those things out far, far, far outweighs, right, the risk of not doing that and just continuing to develop, you know, a deeper and deeper autoimmune condition. So I'm a big fan of cutting those things out. Even if somebody doesn't do the full autoimmune paleo diet, in my office with beginners, one of my favorite things to do is start working their way off of things like gluten and off of things like soy and some dairy as well too. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. We have a local health center here in Chattanooga, and we coach people virtually across the United States as well. Our goal is to help give you the information for you to change your life and to actually get well and stay well. Again, my goal is not, you know, just to give you a piece of information that will change your life for a couple days, or, you know, like I always kind of knock on it. It's actually a really good thing to do. Like the Whole30 diet, I always knock on it a little bit because I'm like, what about Whole31? What about Whole32? Like, what are you doing after that? You know, bottom line, it's still a really good thing to do. But that being said, I want to give you lifestyle tips for you to actually make those changes so that you can drive your health into the future, so that what you guys are working hard for right now, you get to enjoy it later on. Or maybe, right, maybe you're watching this so that you can apply these health principles to your kids, to your grandkids, whoever that is, again, and actually start them off on the pedestal that's far above above where all the rest of the kids are starting, guys. There is no doubt. One of my biggest pet peeves on this planet is absolutely hearing statistics like, 25% of all 5-year-old or under in the United States of America is already on a medication they'll never be taken off of the rest of their life. That drives me absolutely insane. Or I see things like, again, ADD, ADHD, things like, autism. These are all on the rise, which means, I always love the excuse. Every now and then you'll get an absolute, just I don't even know how, but maybe ignorant is the best word to put it, doctor that will talk to you that's like, oh, no, we're just getting better at diagnosing. Dude, bull crap, excuse my French. But bottom line is this. We're not just getting better at diagnosing and just seeing more kids with autism. If you're, a person over the age of 40 listening right now, I dare you, go back and think about in your head, when you were going through school, did you know a single kid who had ADD, ADHD, or autism? And more than likely, if you did, maybe one, right? Or like I always get, some of the older individuals in our office are like, man, you know what? Like I think back, like, I was a busy kid. I probably would have been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. And I'm like, well, where all of our kids are busy, but when you throw on top of it, things like, artificial ingredients and preservatives and things like pesticides and herbicides, hormones, antibiotics, food colorings, all of these stinking things in our food, guys, we're creating this perfect environment. Then you throw in that toxicity, which is generational, which means it's passed down, right, from mother, from grandmother, from great grandmother. That is why if you, let's say you're like, man, I'm living my life the same way as my dad, I'm doing the same things he's doing, why is it that I'm getting disease and he didn't? It's because, again, it bioaccumulates in the body, so you have to do a little bit extra. We have to help ourselves out from where we are. And so that was just a little bit of a soapbox, but again, it drives me nuts. I'm so sick of seeing the disease that our kids are having to live with right now in the country. That is not okay. But if you apply some of these principles that we're going over tonight, when it comes to actually changing your diet, guys, we can see absolute huge results with your kids. Set them up for success. Set them up for success, right? So that they don't have to suffer with some of the things that you suffer with, but also, more importantly to me, so that they can live up to the fullest potential that God created them for, man. All of your kids, they're little warriors. They were created for just greatness. There's no doubt. Pour into your kids that they were created for greatness, all right? And absolutely set them up on a pedestal so that they can succeed. So let's kind of dive into some of the beginner stuff. I talked about on our Facebook Live here, doing the autoimmune paleo diet. I think that's fantastic for those of you who have autoimmune condition, or maybe you just have high amounts of inflammation. I think that's a great place to start. And again, the reason I like that diet is because it pretty much cuts out the main culprits that can create inflammation on the digestive system, and it creates what's called leaky gut. And so from that, you actually get different proteins that escape the lining of the gut and actually attack the body. I think that is a fantastic place to start, is autoimmune paleo. Now, I will say, I'm not saying it's easy, right? I'm not saying it's like the easiest thing in the world to do. It's definitely harder than stopping through at McDonald's on your way home. But you know what? When it comes to your health, you got to put forth some effort for sure. But now we actually have some really cool things out there. So as I'm going through this, guys, just so you know, let's say you're a busy, mom of 4, or let's say you're a business, man or woman, and you are working all the time. I know for us, our schedule is nuts, and then we've got 2 kids under 2.5. So one of the things that I like to utilize is something like Factor 75. That's one of my favorite ones to actually use. There's other ones out there that already pre-prepare the meals for you. They're ready to go. Is it a little bit more expensive? Yes. But again, you got to weigh out time versus finances. So wherever you're at, if time is more of an issue, maybe look into something like Factor 75. You can even tell them, hey, I'd like my meals to be ketogenic, or hey, I'd like my meals to be paleo. They use pasture-raised meats. They don't use sugar in their meals. Again, it's fantastic. Comes to you frozen, so you can literally take it out of the plastic, put it in a glass jar, and actually put it into the oven, heat it up. Don't put it in the microwave. Don't ruin your food. Come on. So actually use, real heat to heat up your food. So that is a quick way that you can get this in. So if you're listening to this, you're like, man, I want to start changing my diet, but I just don't have time. Again, guess what? It's so much easier nowadays than it used to be. Factor 75, that's one of our go-tos that you can go through. Now, another one that I really like as well when it comes to beginners is what's called, so it's very similar. It's what's called the GAPS diet. So it's the gut and psychology syndrome diet. I think this is really amazing. This is an amazing diet, especially if you have a child who has something like ADD, ADHD, or autism. Again, this is going to be fantastic. This is really created by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. It's fantastic for, again, focusing on improving gut flora and improving digestive system, improving the bacterial ecosystem of the digestive system. So some of the differences between that one and the autoimmune paleo, I know on the gut and psychology syndrome diet, so the GAPS diet, you can have some sorts of dairy in it as well. So again, that's kind of the difference there. Both of them work very, very well though. So again, GAPS diet, there's a great book that you can get on that. Same thing with the autoimmune paleo diet. So if I don't go into specifically the foods, guys, they're already in a book. You know what's amazing is books are one of the greatest investments that you can make, period. When it comes to, pennies on the dollar, and you are getting somebody's information that they spent 30, 40 years accumulating, you get it in like 3 or 4 days just by reading their book. So again, make sure that you're getting some of these books. And I will actually have Dr. Rebecca post a link to what I'm talking about tonight so you can actually see it, all right? Again, I'm a big fan of that as well too. So some of the other ones that I think are fantastic, I am a huge fan of doing what we called a long time in our office as the advanced nutrition plan. Now we use what Dr. Pompa calls the cellular healing diet. So you can look that up, cellular healing diet. And this is basically eating things like pasture-raised meat, or organic fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, incorporating things like some gluten-free grains, which are okay to use. It's basically, the way I like to think of it, it's almost more like a biblical type diet, and it's a diet that really focuses on lots of healthy fat to rebuild your cells in your body. So that's another one that I think is fantastic. Again, it's called the cellular healing diet. I think that's great. Now, some of the intermediate ones before I go on our last break. Some of the intermediate ones that I think are great. If you are listening to this, or you have a family member or a friend that suffers with something like MS, right, like multiple sclerosis, if you have somebody that suffers with that, they absolutely must get the book called The Wahls Protocol. So the Wahls Protocol, this was actually created by Dr. Terry Wahls. And so, this is consuming, basically, it's like a ketogenic diet, but you're still consuming a wide variety of plant matter, right? You're consuming a lot of plants, so it's still a plant-based diet, but you're still leaning towards ketogenic. So I love the Wahls Protocol. Again, I actually think it's very, very similar to what I just mentioned with the cellular healing diet, but it actually takes it a little bit more lower on the carbohydrate. So the Wahls Protocol, if you or a family member suffer with any type of neurological, disease, maybe you have a family member that is dealing with Alzheimer's, dementia, I think you probably want to push it even further into like therapeutic ketosis, but the Wahls Protocol is a great way to start. Dr. Terry Wahls actually, why she wrote the book to begin with is because she reversed her own MS, right, by following this type of protocol. So again, the Wahls Protocol, I think, is an unbelievably amazing book to reach. I think she actually practices at the University of Iowa. She does a lot of research there as well too. Just an amazing resource to have. That's a great intermediate one. Now, when I get back, because I'm going to take another short break here. When I get back, I am going to take about 30 seconds and kind of go on a soapbox about one that I've read the book, but also, I've had a lot of patients that have come in and actually went over this so-called health book that I actually think really drives patients into more insanity than it does actually healing the body. But I'll get into that once we get back from the break. If you're looking to get our help, again, make sure you give us a call. That number is 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. 5360. If you want our help in the office, you want to come in and see myself or Dr. Rebecca and start putting together a plan to get you well and keep you well. We're going to look and say, how is your nervous system functioning? How much toxins have you been exposed to? Okay, what does your nutrition look like? And we're going to start putting together a plan specifically that is designed for you to start getting you well. Again, that number is 423 362-5360. They are standing by. Again, if you can't get through, leave your name, number, and a brief message, and they'll get back to you just as soon as they can. This is Wellness Radio with Dr. Warren. We'll be right back after the break. All right, so I'll kind of give you guys an insight. The one that I'm going to, just spend 30 seconds on as far as like one of my kind of pet peeves right now at the moment, because again, I have a lot of patients that are coming to the office talking about how they read this book and they try to follow everything that it says. And that's the Plant Paradox book, right, by Stephen Gundry. Now, I'm not saying that everything he says in there. I think some of the things that he talks about is actually amazing. I think there's some great things to what he talks about, but I also think there's an overboard to what he talks about. Talking about lectins and how we just need to stay away from lectins. Guys, lectins are in just about every, plant food that we're going to eat. Lectins are in everything, guys. So bottom line is you're never going to fully get away. Now, I do agree with decreasing our exposure to some lectins, but the Plant Paradox book, what I found is it really drives patients into a point where they're not eating anything and they're scared to eat everything. And that is not a good place that you want to get to. So again, not a fan of Plant Paradox. Maybe if you've been, eating well for years, maybe if you're just looking for an advanced, area to kind of dive into a little bit and take like kind of some gold nuggets that are in that book. But if you're going to just completely follow that to a T, again, I've really found a lot of my patients struggle with that. So again, that's just kind of a pet peeve of mine. If you want to reduce your lectin intake, and if you don't even know what lectins are, don't worry about it. But if you do, if you know what lectins are like a natural defense mechanism by plants. So again, when we eat these, it can cause things like gastric distress. It can cause some other issues with the GI system. But here's the thing, if you want to reduce those, there's ways to do it. Crock pot, Instapot, right? Use those. Slow cooking your food, again, is a great way. Cooking your food in general, right, is a great way to reduce your lectins as well. Sprouting your nuts and seeds, right? You can buy them already sprouted if you don't want to do it yourself. If you're going to consume any type of grains, again, make sure that they're more gluten-free grains and that they're sprouted. But again, I think there's some gold nuggets in his book. I'm just saying if you're more of a beginner or intermediate, I would really stay away from that one for right now and utilize some of the other ones I talked about earlier, like the Wahls Protocol, especially for healing neurological disease. The cellular healing diet, amazing for healing at the cellular level. Very similar, those two right there. Two of my favorite autoimmune conditions. Again, autoimmune paleo is a great resource that you can look into. A child with autism, ADD or ADHD, GAPS diet. I think that's a fantastic one to look into as well. So, guys, right now, those of you who are on here, I see Brad and Tammy. Hey, guys, how are you? Absolutely. If you guys live in Washington, in the state of Washington, go see Dr. Brad. He is amazing. He will hook you up and get you well for sure, no doubt about it. But here's the thing, guys. If you are on here, make sure that you actually go, if you haven't already, and join our Wild Wellness Tribe. This is specifically for people who want to take their health to the next level. It's our private group. We're actually getting ready on September. Man, that's what these kids are doing in my brain. On December the 10th, we're actually kicking off a 5-day water fast. Some of the people that are on there are going to do a modified, fasting diet, which we have the details on that page for you. If you want to join our group fast, or you want to do a modification of that fast, join our group, Wild Wellness Tribe. Again, actually what you can do is you can just comment below, just comment like Wild Wellness, and I will make sure that Mary Beth goes down and she will put a link underneath your comment. You click on it, we'll add you to the group. Again, that's Wild Wellness Tribe, or you can find it again and add it, and I'll make sure to add you to that group. But join us for this fast, man. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be documenting it all the way through, giving you all type of tips and things to go through. But we're going to do it together, and we're going to really support each other through that process. So again, that's Wild Wellness Tribe. Make sure that you join that. It's going to be fantastic. There you go, Amber. That's going to be great. I'm super excited about that. So we're about to get into our last segment here, okay?
Maximized Health Hour is presented for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Seek a qualified healthcare professional before changing your health program or before embarking on a new one. Visit us on Facebook at Ask Drs. Warren for more information.
All right, guys, welcome back. This is Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. I'm your health expert, both here in Chattanooga and across the United States. Guys, if this is your first time tuning into our show, welcome. We also do a live show every Saturday from 10 to 11. We do it not only here on the radio on Talk 102.3, but you can also catch us on the website, too, on Talk 102.3. I think that's WGOW.com. Or you can do, Facebook. We are live on Facebook, Doctors Warren, DRSWARREN, and you can come and check us out there. Follow our page. You can actually watch some of the shows that we've done previously as well. So let me dive into some of the more advanced tips for you guys who've been working on your diet for a long period of time. One of the more advanced ones that I love, the Weston A. Price diet. I think it's absolutely amazing. The Weston A. Price, listen, let me just tell you this. Weston A. Price is one of the most influential health figures that has ever walked this planet, no doubt about it. You can read a great book, like you can read one of his books that he's written, Weston A. Price. You can read Dr. Kate Shanahan, Deep Nutrition. She talks a lot about a diet very similar to Weston A. Price. Or you can read Nourishing Traditions. This one is actually written by Sally Fallon and co-written by Dr. Thomas Cowan. Those are fantastic books that you can read and really dive into, again, more of a Weston A. Price diet. This is going to be a diet high in good quality fat, getting all those fat soluble vitamins like vitamins A, E, D, and K, and really nourishing the brain and the nervous system. Some other ones that you can actually dive into, you can customize your diet based on your ancestry, all right? So that being said, if you test it and you know where your ancestors come from, you can actually kind of tailor it based on what the people in your past, but basically your ancestors, what they ate. That is absolutely important. So there's a book out there for those of you who, again, want to take it to this level. It's called The Jungle Effect, all right? This is one of my favorite books that I've ever read. It's by Dr. Daphne Miller. She's a medical doctor and absolutely fantastic. She actually presents a lot of research in the book, but it's called The Jungle Effect, right? Check it out. And it's all about eating what your ancestors would have ate and kind of mimicking that. But I think all the things that we went over tonight, it's important to know, stick to the basics like we said in the first section. If you missed that, get on our Doctors Warren page on Facebook and you can rewatch it and you actually can see what I'm talking about so that you can eat like the blue zones and so that you can make sure that you're adding years onto your life and life onto your years. Again, nutrition is what builds every cell in our body, right? So we want to make sure that we're feeding our bodies what it needs. If you would like our help, again, guys, make sure you give the girls a call. I don't know how many appointments are left, but they are standing by. That number is 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. Again, if you can't get through, leave your name, number, and a brief message, and they will make sure they get back to you just as soon as they can. Also, again, make sure that you tune in live on Saturday from 10 to 11 so that we can go through some more health things with you. Guys, I'm your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. This is Wellness Radio. I will see you again next time. All right, guys. So let's see. We had a couple questions here. I read the book and I got inspired just by eating fresh. Not a diet, just a way of eating fresh. Judith, which one are you talking about? I'm not sure which one you're talking about there. But either way, man, that's great. Any book that you read, get inspired by. I think that's fantastic. You may be talking about the Plant Paradox book. I would have a feeling that you're talking about that. Yeah, I mean, again, it's got some great things in it, some really nuggets of gold. I think for anybody who's kind of beginner or intermediate, though, it's not for them. Like, again, I actually disagree with some of his lectin stuff. When I actually dive into the research, I know that lectins actually create what's called a hormetic effect in the body. Hormetic effect is basically a stressor on the body that produces a good result. Let me give you an example. Exercise is a hormetic effect, right? It creates a stress response, but it creates good results, right? So that's one area that I disagree with him on. But like I said, there's some really good gold nuggets for you. I just want to make sure that you guys don't get scared of food, right? That's important to me. Let's see, how long should we do gaps for with ADHD kids? Yeah, Yeah, so this is a good one. I say, give it, again, I like to give it at least 6 to 9 months, right? Because again, you want to give the body time to actually respond to it, and it actually takes you through a plan. So if you get that book, if you get the GAPS book, right, the Gut and Psychology Diet book, it'll take you through a plan. Also too, I think that even the Nourishing Traditions one also takes you through like a GAPS plan kind of in the back of it as well too. So I think that's fantastic. And also too, Laura, if you want to, just reach out to us, and I can send you a link to some of that too, so you get more about that. Yeah, just take some. I totally got. Yeah, Judith, you're absolutely right. I agree, man. Gold nuggets in there for sure. I think there's no doubt about that. And then I had somebody else ask about, what about the Nemechek protocol for ADHD? Yeah, I've actually heard some great things about that for sure. I think that's a place that you can go. Let me just kind of give you a basis. No matter what you call it, I think ADHD, ADD, and autism, I think some of the most important things that you can possibly do, right, is eat a diet rich and high in good quality fat. You have to consume good quality fat that's rich in vitamin A, D, E, and K, that you're consuming, giving your kids lots of polyphenols, lots of antioxidants. They come from things like wild berries, like blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, those type of things. And again, consuming very small, if at all, consuming sugar, right? You may sweeten your things with, like, maybe it's stevia, maybe it's monk fruit. If you need to use a little bit, maybe like a little bit of like raw local honey. But again, you're really cutting back on the sugars, eating things like raw nuts and seeds. Some other really, more advanced tips for those of you who have kids with ADD or ADHD. You've got to make sure that you're monitoring. I know it's not always easy to do, but you have to make sure that at church, at school, wherever they're at, that they are not getting exposed to artificial ingredients, things like artificial coloring, things like, different foods with all kinds of trans fat in it. You've really got to be specific about it. You got to buckle down for sure. And Judith said high protein, for the brain, and autism also for dementia. Yeah, but remember, protein can also kick you into it can really kind of kick you out of fat burning mode too. So make sure with the protein that you're consuming good quality protein, but that you're not over consuming protein as well, because protein will really kick you out of a fat burning stage, which is more efficient fuel to actually burn. So I agree. I think you should have adequate amount of protein, but again, don't go overboard with it. And if you have blood sugar issues, if you have a neurological disease, again, I think it's always great to kind of stick more amount around the moderate level of protein and get it from good quality, either plant sources or animal sources from like grass-fed beef, things like that. All right, guys. So again, I'm going to sign off here, but we will be doing a Facebook Live later as well. I hope you guys have an amazing night.